Continuing with research, you could describe it as crowdsourcing scientific help. The University of Wyoming Biodiversity Institute calls it citizen science, and it's easy to find recruits in Wyoming, where so many of us love the outdoors. Institute Director of Science Programs, Brian Barber, explains how Wyoming citizens are getting involved. Brian, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
What are citizen scientists?
A citizen scientist is someone that is not a non-professional that becomes involved in some form of research project.
How do you use them?
Most often they're used as data collectors. So a researcher has a question, a research project that requires data, usually over a large geographic area. And it might be time sensitive in the fact that we need to collect those data over the course of a weekend or a week. And the manpower in that person's lab doesn't exist, so we will recruit volunteers from the public to go out and collect those data.
Can you give me an example of a project that's occurred recently?
Yes, so at the Biodiversity Institute, one of the projects we've done, one of the citizen science projects, is Moose Day. So Moose Day is a single day event. We do one in the winter and we do one in the summer. They occur in Vidavoo, Pole Mountain, and the Snowy Mountains. And we allow participants, the public, to pick their own route. And they go out and early in the morning, and we found that from the past 3 or 4 that you see 90% of the moose before 9 a.m. So in the winter, this might be a little more of a challenge. But they go out, they do the route, they can take family members, and then they come back with a data sheet with the number of moose they've seen, number of moose signs, so tracks and scat.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Last year on the winter one, we had a retired man who basically told his daughters that they were going to drive him across Nebraska because he wanted to do his route in Wyoming and see some moose. So it was kind of fun.
Is this a new idea?
The idea came from nature mapping in Jackson Hole. So they've been doing a Moose Day in the valley in Jackson since I think 2009. And we thought, well, why not do one here? We have moose here. We know we had a public that would be interested in doing something like that. So kind of with their guidance and input, we designed our own project here.
Can you trust the data that you're getting from these helpers?
The answer is, for the most part, yes, it can be, either through adequate training or just kind of the volume of data. Another one of the projects we have at the Biodiversity Institute is a Rocky Mountain Amphibian Project. And we have kind of replicated, so I'll give you some background into that project. So you can adopt a stream catchment in the Snowies, and you go out and you look for frogs, right? Frogs are on amphibians in decline worldwide, so we'd like to monitor them and see any population changes and where they're occurring. So, and they get some training, they get some online training, and then they can come and talk to us. They get a little kit, they go out there. But one of the things they did was go back with the professionals in the same catchments and kind of verify the public's, the citizen science ability to capture this data. And in some cases, they were actually better than the professionals. They had more detections of amphibians in those catchments. So.
How long has the Biodiversity Center been using this approach, and has it been successful?
I think it's very successful. We've been doing it basically for the last 2 or 3 years. We've been really pushing it in the sense that we have actually had our first, we sponsored the first Wyoming Citizen Science Conference in Lander just in December 2nd. And we're hoping to expand that to be more of a region-wide thing, so Montana, Utah, and Idaho. We feel there's a need for that in the region. And one of the things we hope to become the leader in that area so that we'll serve as kind of a clearinghouse for other projects to share knowledge, share experiences with citizen science projects.
Tell me about your work with the Girl Scouts.
Oh, the Girl Scouts. Well, a little bit. So, like I said, a lot of the citizen science projects, the public are contributing data. But on the flip side of that, to become involved in the scientific process, there's a lot of steps. There's a lot of stages of inquiry. Develop hypotheses, collect data, analyze those data, and disseminate it to the public. So one of the things I thought would be fun was to find a population of students or public that might be willing to experience the entire scientific project on a research question. And so we got Laramie Girl Scouts, about 12, that I spent the year with. And we looked at the recent stream restoration in the Laramie River. Was it effective? And instead of being the academic and telling them, these are my questions, here's what I want you to go do. I just said, look, this has recently happened. How would we look at this to determine if this was an effective use of money to restore the river? So they had to generate questions, they had to generate testable hypotheses, and they put waders on and they went out in the stream and they caught critters and they did everything.
Did the Girl Scouts get anything out of this?
They, I think, had a much more sense of that science is doable, that I can do science, that it's not that thing on the hill in the ivory tower that people do. And in fact, I would argue that most of those girls could do a science project on their own now. I tell people all the time, if you're pessimistic about the world, work with Girl Scouts, and it'll change your view of society and our future. So they were wonderful.
This sounds like a great way to recruit women into science.
That was actually one of the purposes of the Girl Scouts project. So this was funded through an EPSCoR, Wyoming EPSCoR grant. And it was basically to expose these young ladies to female role models on campus. In fact, I was the only man in the entire project, and I tried to stay in the back. So on top of doing the research projects, we had these evening, what we called water workshops, where they would meet female faculty and do something related to water. So not your traditional citizen science, but they were learning how to collect data, how to identify organisms, so all parts of a scientific pursuit.
Brian, thanks for your involvement. Thanks for sharing it with us.
Thank you.